Hey everyone, this is Brad again from Heaven's Metal Magazine. I got a fantastic interview for you today. Had the opportunity to sit down and talk with George Ochoa. He was the guitarist on the landmark album Weapons of Our Warfare by Deliverance. He also worked and produced and wrote in the band Recon and Worldview, and most recently, he's getting ready to release an album with a project he did with Michael Drive from Barren Cross called The Human Code. I was able to sit down with him for about an hour, talk all things Ochoa, going through his history and some of his philosophy of life. Wonderful interview. So enjoy this and keep on rocking.
Starts with my grandmother would always tell me when she'd come over from see her doctors in our house in LA that I lived in Los Angeles, and she would always say, I was watching Christian programming, and I was at the time, not very interested in anything Christian or anything. I mean, I grew up Catholic, quote unquote, but whatever that means. I mean, it didn't mean much to me. I'm not going to say that that's most Catholics, but I think that's most Catholics. It's just kind of something you were labeled with and you think you're stuck with for life. But, we'll talk about that some other time. But bottom line is I didn't have a relationship with Christ at all at that time. My grandmother always tell me when I'd walk by with my guitar, "You're going to play music for the Lord one day." And I'd laugh. I go, "Yeah, right." Because I pictured just some dorky short-haired dude, which look at me now with my short hair. But at the time I was like long hair and, thin, all that good stuff. But, and I just pictured some dorky dude on an acoustic guitar sitting on the stool, just playing goofy music. And, that was my outlook of what me playing music for the Lord would be. So obviously coming from a point of view where I wasn't saved, I mean, that's pretty common, just to not think much about Christianity or Christ. And because, you're not illuminated yet. You're not, the Holy Spirit hasn't given you eyes to see, ears to hear. So fast forward a little bit, met this guy named, I've known this guy named Roger Martinez that was, I knew him from junior high, and he was kind of like a pretty edgy type of dude growing up in a very edgy type of background. His mother was like, a biker mom and all that. But anyways, I heard that he got saved and he got religion and he became a Christian. I went like, "Wow, that's weird. That'd be one of the last guys I would hear about." So I saw him one time as we were both walking on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood for some reason. I think I was going to my doctor's because my hospital was right there, Children's Hospital in Hollywood. And he started telling me about Christ, started witnessing to me, and then invited me to this Bible study. And I went, and I remember just going a couple of times thinking, "Wow, this is kind of trippy." And then we ended up getting together and talking about the word and this and that. And then another friend of mine named Dion joined. And then I felt like kind of both of them were kind of bombarded me at that time. But what ended up happening is I ended up going to a Bible study after the same Bible study I went to before. And I went to this one, a second time. And I think this is a defining moment for my Christianity, I think, because I think the Lord had been kind of ministering to me all those couple weeks right there. And then I went, and this guy got up there and kind of without wisdom or without much discernment, I think he just got up there and said, "If you love Jesus, stand up right now." And that's something you kind of don't do in a setting where you invite new Christians or non-Christians, because it kind of puts them on the spot. But I don't know why that was a good thing for me at that time, because I at that point decided to stand up. I said, "Well, this is it. I'll make a stand for Christ," and I did. And I think that's see, I don't want to say I have a different view, but I have a view of, time is a man-made thing. And I think God already knows. And not only does he know, but he foreordains who's going to be his, who's not. And I was already in God's plan. So it's just a mere matter of time of like me just catching up with that plan in a sense. And so I believe that in the foundation of the world, the Lord knew where I'd be. And I'd be his. But that was a clear defining moment for me to kind of make a stand for Christ. And I guess not far after that, we started a band called Prophet. And Believe it or not, this was even before I heard of Striper or anything like that, Res Band or any of those bands. Then we heard about Striper a few months later that they were doing this. So we went to go see them at the small club in Hollywood called the Troubadour. And there wasn't many people there. It wasn't sold out or anything like that, but there wasn't enough people there. There was definitely a lot of people. But I've been to the Troubadour in the past where it's been sold out. And wow, I was blown away by Striper, definitely. But keep in mind that we already had started our Christian metal band. It was kind of more of a Judas Priest, Iron Maiden type of thing. So it was kind of encouraging to know that there's other people still doing that were doing this. So the name of, again, that first band I did with Roger Martinez, he played guitar and I played guitar. Then we had a singer and drummer, bass player. Prophet, that was the name of the band, Prophet. Well, Prophet kind of fell apart. And then I think right after that, I started a band called The Rock. We were kind of like a glam metal band type of thing, believe it or not. I had my, spiky hair and spandex, all that good stuff. That didn't last a whole lot that long, but we were kind of trying to make a go of it. You never heard much from them because we never really did any recordings. Then we started a band called Recon. So Recon came pretty soon after that, and we started getting involved with Sanctuary, and I started getting involved, and I was teaching a Bible study down at the Whittier one, which was the original one before even South Bay, before Bob Beeman. And then Bob Beeman got involved, and then it kind of grew from there. And obviously we started our own Sanctuary, which is in Hollywood, and Roger Martinez was the pastor of that. And so at that time I was still in Recon, and then Recon started falling apart because I don't know, a lot of people were not doing the things they were supposed to be doing if they called themselves Christians. So it kind of fell apart for those reasons. And I'm not going to point any fingers at anybody because, there's, whenever you point a finger, one finger, there's three pointing back at you. So, but I was the holy one in the band. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. No, actually a guy named Eddie Starline was the holy one in the band. He's the one that always kept us all together. And he ended up, being in, obviously he was in Recon. But anyways, as that started falling apart, Jimmy came to one of our Recon shows, and Jimmy Brown, and he invited me to play with to try out for Deliverance, or to go play with them. And that all went well. It all went pretty good. Believe it or not, I don't think Brian or Chris really totally wanted me in the band originally. Jimmy had to sell me on them, and then we started rehearsing. And then they go, "Okay, this guy's cool, and he can actually play." So okay, well, because ultimately, I think everything that happens in Deliverance is Jimmy's, baby, and it's his say. But then obviously I got in Deliverance, and then we ended up recording Deliverance and Recon in the same year, because we were both on Frontline. It's a long story about how Recon got that recording deal. I kind of got that going because originally Recon was actually going to record with John and Dino Elefante and be on Pachyderm Records. But because I joined Deliverance, I guess Jim Kempner wanted to bring over Recon. It's funny. I think he wanted to bring over Recon without even hearing a note of Recon. He just wanted to make sure that Pachyderm didn't get it. he just wanted to put it on Frontline Intense Records without even hearing a note. He goes, "Okay, just record your Recon record over here." And I did. I recorded it Intense, Frontline Records, and then Deliverance obviously had recorded the first record already without me. But I went on tour for the first record with Deliverance. And then obviously we did Weapons of Warfare after that. So, and I did that, for a few years. We did What a Joke. Then Jimmy and I kind of, without getting into any drama or anything like that, we kind of just parted ways. And if you have any questions for me after, we can talk about stuff like that. But I have a great relationship with Jimmy to this day, so we don't like to throw each other under the bus, because I think there was some bad blood at the time. But we got over it, and we're adults, and it's no big deal. Above all, we're Christians, so so you don't hold grudges like that. And then along those, between those years, between what I did, between Deliverance and Worldview, and even today, I did sporadic stuff. I could have done a whole lot more, but a lot of things in life just happened. Ended up producing Mortification and playing on it. I wasn't supposed to play on that record. I was just supposed to produce it, but Zero fired the guitar player um, like halfway through recording that record. Zero fired him and said, "George, can you do the record?" I go, yeah, of course. So I ended up playing I think everything on the record except 2 songs. And I actually brought in a couple friends of mine to do some leads along with me, a guy named Dave Kellogg. So yeah, and then I ended up just doing leads here and there. I forgot the name of the band. I mean, I did stuff. I produced some demos. I was always playing. I was always writing, but it just never seemed that I could quite get out there. One of the last things I've done is obviously Worldview with Ray Parra of Sacred Warrior. And now that's kind of, I'll give you a quick story on that one. Because that came about because Rick Macias and I became kind of friends because when Deliverance was touring, we'd stay at his house when we were in the Chicago area because Sacred Warriors from Chicago. And for some reason, always Rick and I kept in touch, always call each other Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever. And I hit it off with Rick a lot. And then he moved out to California and he actually came and hung out with me. He has a Harley, I have a Harley, we were Harley riding. Anyways, he always used to tell Ray Parra was pretty much his best friend, was his best friend. I don't know if you know this, but obviously Rick Macias has now gone on to be with the Lord. But here I'm leading up to that. He would always tell Ray, you really need to do some stuff with George, outside of Sacred Warrior. You need to record, you need to write with George, you need to do something musically with George. And Ray would kind of go, Ray would be like, yeah, cool, yeah, why not? Well, as it was, the very day that Rick Macias passed away, that he died, he got together with Ray that day, earlier in the day. He even reminded him again, saying that very day, said, you really need to get together with George. And the next day came and Ray came to see him or pick him up for something. And I guess they found him, died. So we like to say that it was kind of like Rick's dying wish for Ray and I to do something. So I remember Ray and I just getting together afterwards and let's just do this Worldview record in honor of Rick. And we gave him a dedication on the record. I don't know if you saw it at all, but we dedicate the record to him. And he was a great buddy to Ray. And he and I, like I said, struck up an instant friendship where we not only just from like staying at his house, but we'd always talk and he'd come and stay at my house. And so he's just one of those guys that was really really personable type person. So I got that. I still have Worldview going. We put out a record, and then we're working on the second one, which is a few years later. But it's going to be really good. I think it's going to be better than the first one. But the first one, believe it or not, I'm really, really proud of that first record. I worked really hard on it. And
you don't have to say believe it or not. That is a standout release.
Well, here's the
2015, right? Yeah, 2015.
Yeah, the real problem with that record is that not enough people have heard it. I run into people all the time that know who I am as far as Deliverance and Recon, and they've never heard of. I go, "Hey, we heard the Worldview stuff." They go, "No, what's that?" No one's ever heard of it.
Yeah.
So it got really bad. It was really badly promoted, and I will not blame anybody, but I guess myself, because we kind of took it on ourselves. We originally were going to do it with Alterium Records, and we had some differences as far as direction of the record. He didn't like. I think he wanted us. His name's Emil. He wanted us to kind of be like 80s all over again, and with the dive bombs on guitar and the hammer-ons, and just be like classic metal. And we wanted to move on with Worldview. At least I did mainly. And the rest of the guys were on board, just move on and kind of modernize it a bit. So there was some grunty stuff. There was some, which he despised, by the way. So we, Emil, the record company guy, Alterium. So we ended up kind of parting ways. We put it out ourselves. And I don't know in hindsight if it was a mistake or not, but I did get the record that I wanted to do and not really be told, how to do it. And I guess at my older age, I'm pretty stubborn. But anyway, so leading up to today, I have another project going right now called Human Code. And that's with Michael Drive, aka Mike Lee with Barren Cross. Yeah. And we've been working on it for a few years now at this point. So we're pretty much done with it. We're just mixing it at this point. And in fact, I'll probably send you a song right away on it because I pretty much finished some of the mix. and we're just plugging along with that, with mixing that. That's kind of again more of a modern metal type thing. But you know what? Always our influences will come out. You know, Mike actually, or Michael, he doesn't like to be called Mike anymore. Michael Drive, he despises that people always um, compare him to Bruce Dickinson. Well, I mean, sorry, Michael, you sound like him, and that's just the way it is. But he's really trying to get away from not having that Barren Cross Iron Maiden sound on this record, and he's done a pretty good job of that. I mean, I think you'll see what he kind of pretty much sounds like. He's striving to make his own niche. So it's going to be it's a good record. It's a really good record. It's already written, and we already have like enough songs again for a second record. And we don't want to I think this band, we're going to try and put out a record a year. We'll see what happens. So, but again, so I've got that coming, and I've got obviously Worldview 2, which is going to be called Invincible. And that's going to come this year as well, 2022.
Now, and Ray is singing on that as well.
Yes, Ray's going to do it for sure.
Awesome. Well,
yeah, there's some confusion that Mike joined Worldview, but Mike did do a Worldview show for us when we opened up for Striper, but it's only because Ray really couldn't do it. So I had to fill in a singer, and Mike's a pretty good singer to use for a fill-in. Yeah.
Yeah. Mike's the stuff he does on Gale Force is incredible. That Gale Force record he sings on is amazing, and I think he's grown so much as a vocalist since Barren Cross.
Yeah.
Well,
definitely.
Let's go. Let me take you back to 1990, Weapons of Our Warfare. You and I talked on the phone a few months ago about that record for a little bit. And so I'm just a little bit younger than you. I was born in '67, so you got about 5 years on me. So I grew up in the '80s listening to. I was more into like Rush, Queensryche, that more progressive side of things, and then I heard Metallica, and that kind of, they were doing it all. They were doing the thrash, and then they even had that little progressive side with all the time changes and stuff. So, and when Weapons came out, all of us in the youth group, and our co-buddy Matt is one of them, we ate that album up. Of course, we were aware of Deliverance from the California Metal tape and then the first record, but I really didn't get into it until this one, Weapons of Our Warfare. And I was trying to explain it to my wife. I said it's kind of the Black Album of Christian metal. It was just every track is just killer, and lyrically so strong, and you're playing on it. Oh geez, it was phenomenal. Let's go into the studio. Tell me when you guys were recording that. You have a producer credit on it. Did you do the production on that?
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, obviously, being as Jimmy's baby, and I'm a pretty strong. I don't know. I don't want to say force, because that sounds kind of goofy, but I'm not. Well, let's put it this way: I've always kind of been a leader, so I'm not really that much of a follower. So Jimmy at times and I would butt heads, definitely, but he always had his say, because Jimmy formed Deliverance, he started Deliverance, he's still but he doesn't want to even do Deliverance anymore. He wants to move on musically and try different things. In fact, Jimmy and I failed to mention, Jimmy and I are probably going to do a project together, but it's not going to be Deliverance. It's going to be something else. But that's for the future. But so yeah, I did produce it, but Jimmy always had his 2 cents, obviously, because it's his baby. And I'd like to give a lot of credit to Bill Montoya too for mixing it, because he took what we did and then just melded it together and made it sound like really polished. Not that it wasn't polished before he got there, but I believe me, Bill's got a talent to mix metal, and I think he brought the record together at the end for sure.
Yeah, it's polished and it sounds huge. It does not sound dated. You can still pop Weapons.
It's really clear. It's a clear sounding record.
Yeah, and you can hear the instruments in the mix too. They're spatially, it's wonderful. So the video got MTV airplay. How did that make you feel when you turn on Headbangers Ball and there you are on Headbangers Ball. That's got to be pretty cool.
You know, I have a terrible memory, but I kind of remember that we had a little gathering at my house, and we were all watching Headbangers Ball. And I think the very first time that a bunch of us were together, they told us that we were going to air. If I remember correctly, it didn't air. And then we got, oh, sorry, we couldn't get it in this time. We'll get it in next week. So I think we had that same party for 2-3 weeks till finally aired. And no, there it is. You know that scene in what's that thing you do when they hear their song for the first time on the radio.
Yeah.
That was probably like us, jumping up and down, getting all happy that we were on Headbangers Ball. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is, man. That is awesome. I still listen to that album. It's often played. It's just great. And
thank you.
I get to talk to you. And let's see, when Matt was over there, he showed me a picture. He still got the 777 guitar on their wall that he played in the video.
Do you see it back there?
Yeah, I can't see it. It's right off frame there. Although I see all this beautiful.
Hold on, let's see if I can turn this over. There it is.
There it is.
I should have put it right behind me.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Okay, now let's go to. I noticed from Weapons, you were doing Recon around the same time. The Recon album seemed to have a much more of a like almost a progressive metal bent to them. Are you influenced by other prog metal bands, or do you listen to a lot of other prog metal bands?
Yeah, that's one of the things that brought Jimmy and I together, I think, a lot, is we're both huge Queensryche fans. And there's no question, if you listen to Recon, I'm a Queensryche fan. Yeah. I mean, I did most of the writing on that record, obviously. And I mean, The Warning was huge for me. Rage for Order, Mind Crime, those are awesome records. And I mean, they without being a negative Nelly, at this point, I think they've taken a turn for the worse. They're not quite putting out the records that they once did, but man, I was hooked on those guys in the beginning, big time. And Jimmy was a huge fan. So if you remember Jimmy, it's a speed metal, quote unquote, thrash band, but Jimmy's a singer, and that's why on What a Joke, I mean, he and I both look back at that record and kind of go like, no, I shouldn't have done that, because Jimmy is not a type of singer. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think I was in that mode, and I was kind of like pressured him to sing that way, because I was listening at that time to a lot of Sepultura and stuff like that. And I'll take the blame that Jimmy wasn't quite as melodic on that record as he should have been, because he's just a great singer. It's just like Phil from Pantera. He's a phenomenal singer, but he chooses to growl and grunt the whole time. Okay, that's his choice and whatever. Yeah. And that's the way Pantera wanted to roll. But listen to Cemetery Gates and all that. I mean, you can hear it. He's got an awesome voice. Yeah, if you've got it, why not use it? You know what I mean? And people like Jimmy, I mean, he's got it. I mean, he's a great singer. Well, so that's that. To answer your question about prog bands, so I was a huge, and you said something about Rush. I've always been a Rush fan. More recently, I've been, really into, I was in the Dream Theater for quite a while there, till they started boring me. Even though John Petrucci's a monster, he's a monster guitar player. The only reason I say bore me is because I think they tend to write music for themselves and their riffs, and not for the fans and for the sake of the song. I think they tell poor what's the singer's name?
James
Labrie. I think they hand him music and they say, here, fit your vocals to this music. And, he's got quite a task doing that. I'm guessing because it would be, it seems like the music is more the priority than the vocals to them. And I've actually made a way turn from that and from my past in that way, because I think the vocals are by far the most important thing in any project, So write music around the vocals, not vice versa. Vocals around the music.
Yeah, the song is the thing. So yeah, we'll skip through the other stuff. Let's get to Worldview. So when I saw an ad for Worldview, I think it was on social media. It might have been on Facebook when I first, way back when it came out, and did not know you were attached to it.
Oh,
All I knew
okay.
is Ray Perry was singing on it, and I love his voice. The stuff he did with Sacred Warrior was just, outstanding.
Oh yeah.
So I've been listening to this since 2015, and what I like about it is that progressive metal bent. And but the songs, hold up. But you've got the complex the complexity of it in there, which that's what I listen to more than anything. So
Yeah.
I love that. Then when I heard the song snippet of Human Code, you guys released a sample. I guess it's like 25 seconds. Um, I was going crazy. My oldest son is a musician. He's actually a worship pastor at church down in Kentucky. And I sent him.
Oh,
I said, you've got to hear this. He fires back. He goes, that reminds me of Queensryche. And it was like, you're right. It does. So I think you'd be happy to hear that's what
I
the
guess it
artist
just
that he
naturally
thought
comes
of.
out because that's we weren't going for that. Let's put it that way.
Well, it was just 25 seconds, and
Yeah.
it was just enough to hear, and I was like, okay, now I'm pumped for it. So
Well, I'll send you that whole song because I have that mixed. So
yeah, please do, and then I'll write a review on it, and we'll get that out so people can really look forward to it, if that's okay.
sure, big time.
Awesome. Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking at your guitar collection. I have my one guitar back here.
I've got a couple of them.
That's
If you notice,
that's
I've got some. The guitar enthusiasts will notice that I definitely have the those Music Man Majesties, which is the Petrucci guitar. They make it sound like I either play just like him or he's my idol, and both of them are not totally true. I respect him as a player. I think he's great. And I don't think I totally play like him because I think he shreds me, to be honest with you. But a friend of mine brought over one of these guitars to me one day. He goes, "Hey, you got to check out this guitar." And I just started playing it. I went, "Oh my gosh, this thing plays like butter." And now I have 5 of them. Because I'm old, man, and anything that makes me play easier and I don't have to smash my fingers down on the fretboard, I'm all for it. So they're easier to play than a lot of other guitars.
Yeah,
They just play like I said. That's the best way to put it. They play like butter.
yeah, I can believe how small they are. It's a small body. It's light. The
Yeah,
action is amazing. Of course,
yeah. The action's crazy amazing. Yep.
yeah, I'm not a guitar player per se, but I enjoy going to the guitar stores and looking at all the gear. I'm addicted to the gear, but I can't play the guitar. So
Yeah. Well, the theory is the higher the action is on guitar, the more like tone you kind of get out of that guitar. And I get that. Like a lot of blues players can play like that, because they're holding those notes for like a long time, like a Joe Bonamassa and those types of guys. And I can imagine, not that they have like really high action. I don't know, but the lower you put the strings down on the fretboard, the more you're kind of killing the tone of it. But it makes the guitar easier to play. so you can do the sweeps, or you can do the runs a little faster because they're that much closer to that. I'm telling you, there's nothing worse than trying to do some kind of run and you have really high action on something. It just kills it. I mean, you just might as well just play bend notes and that's it. But if you're trying to do anything fast or anything flashy, you can't do it on a guitar that's got a high action. So some of these Gibsons I have, some of these Fenders, I've kind of brought the action back down to do just that. But if I'm going to go and play some blues stuff, I'd probably do better to kind of raise the action a little bit and not worry about those fast licks, but just play those note benders, type of thing. Which I think, to be honest with you, I mean, if we're just talking guitar players, you didn't ask me this question, but here I'm offering it. As a guitar player, I think I've changed a lot. I don't really like to do all those fast stuffs anymore. I mean, I do sometimes just to show people, yeah, I can still do it, Junior. But I think I've turned more into like almost a bluesy player, to be honest with you. I mean, and how does that fit into like progressive type stuff? It almost doesn't, but I'll make it work. Yeah, because I that's what I don't want to say anything negative, but that's one thing I heard. I've heard all positive stuff about that Worldview record, but I did hear somebody say, or a few people say, there's not enough shredding on it. Well, sorry, because shredding is probably overrated. I mean, you hear Yngwie the first minute and you've heard every lick that he knows how to do, and all of a sudden the next 59 minutes are like, and that's just me. Again, Yngwie is an incredible player. I can't play what he plays. He blows me away. So let's get that off the table. But as a listener, I can't take too long of that.
Yeah, my favorite song by Yngwie is his slowest song, "Dreaming." Yeah. it's a ballad and it's beautiful, and that's my favorite song by his. Yeah. So
I like Heaven Tonight.
Oh gosh, that whole Odyssey album. Whew,
yeah,
the whole thing is great. But Dreaming,
that's Joe Lynn Turner, right?
Yeah, Joe Lynn Turner. The only one he did with Joe Lynn Turner. He did that in the live album. That was it. So that was a good one. So I want to switch gears a little bit, George, and tell you one thing, then ask you another. One thing I have noticed that I really appreciate about you is you have stayed in the Christian market with your music. You're putting out exceptionally produced, exceptionally written stuff, especially that Worldview record. And aside, I love how you're bringing in like some of that Eastern musical influence in there. I dig that. That's great. Take me through you started off telling me how you got saved, when you got saved, way back in the day. How have you struggled to stay in Christian music and not stepped out of that mold and played other stuff?
That's a good question. And the only answer I had to say that is it's like when the apostles, when Jesus says, "Are you going to also leave also to his apostles?" They said, "Where?" I think it was Peter that said, "Where else are we going to go, Lord? Where else is there to go?" That's the way I feel about like Christianity and my Christianity and how you're supposed to view Christianity. To be honest with you, if it doesn't permeate every aspect of your life, if you just compartmentalize it, like the Sundays, Tuesday night Bible study, when I hang out with my Christian friends, if it doesn't affect every part of your life, from like your business decisions to your everything. I mean, here I am going to quote the great Kanye West. That guy really impressed me on an answer he gave recently. I think he was on Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Kimmel said, "So are you now a Christian artist?" And Kanye's answer, which blew me away, says, "I'm a Christian everything." See, and that's, I guess I like that answer because that's pretty much my view. If Christianity isn't all about your life, because I know a lot of people, and I don't know, you've been around, that had Christian bands, and they were quote unquote going to sanctuary or whatever, Christian church, whatever they were doing at the time, and the excitement of the moment was like there. But then it kind of reminds me of like, the whole parable of the seeds, the ones that fell on stony ground. As soon as troubles hit, man, a lot of people said, "I'm out of here. I mean, this isn't for me." And they no longer, like, shall we say, practice their Christianity. It was just part of them being in a Christian band at the time. So they're kind of just, either faking it or thinking they were actually. But, again, there's all kinds of people that like came around the sanctuary scene, when it first started, and a lot of them are still serving the Lord. They've gone to go to Bible college, to be pastors, to be elders in their church. So there's a lot of good things that came out of this whole movement. By the way, that all stemmed from the Striper ministry, really, to be honest with you. But that's a whole nother story. I know they're going to put out a documentary. I really hope that they do it right, because I'm sure they will, because they had a huge impact on this whole thing. I mean, they were like, they birthed a lot of it. And how many people actually fell away? Tons of people that it wasn't real to them. It was just kind of like, "Oh, this is kind of cool. Oh, wait, I have to live holy. I have to follow Christ. Nah, this isn't quite for me. So I guess I hope I answered your question. I think Christianity just permeates every aspect of your life, and it has for me. And if it comes out of my music, it comes out of my music. I mean, if you're going to write a Christian song, you're going to write a Christian song because it's something that you shouldn't have to do on purpose. It just should naturally come out of you.
Right.
And there's okay. I mean, if it's in that worldview record, I mean, there's relationship songs in there. I wrote a song, for instance, on that record called "Back in Time," and that's about my divorce. And yeah, that was a very painful time for me. Believe me, I grew quite a bit in my faith at that time. I mean, I failed it in a lot of ways, but you learn from your failures. If you don't fail, you don't learn. So it was through those failures that I learned. I'll tell you, one of the main things I learned is that God never left me and never forsook me. And even though I forsook Him and I've let Him down, He's still always been there for me. That's why one of my favorite songs on the Worldview record is what's it called? Oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank? Two Wonders. Because it's about the whole mercy of Christ and how faithful He is compared to how unfaithful we are. See, we as humans cut people off real quick out of our lives that do us wrong. But can you imagine if God were that way? I mean, we'd all be toast. We do God wrong all the time. But the beauty about His, I love what my pastor, John MacArthur, said. He goes, God's first and foremost attribute is that He's a merciful God. I mean, that you're breathing air is an example of that. That He's allowed you to live another day. That you live in the United States of America. I mean, you can go on and on, about the mercies of God. So I'll tell you one thing, Brad, that I've always kind of struggled with in my life, and I'm a little late now for this, but getting into the ministry and getting, I wanted to go to Bible college and do all that stuff, but to be honest with you, I counted the cost, which a lot of pastors I don't think do. And I kind of said, and I took the easy road out. I said, no, it's not for me. It's too much accountability, too much judgment. And what I mean by judgment is we're going to, teachers and pastors are going to get away. The scripture says they're going to get a stricter judgment because they're setting the example. And I guess I didn't want that pressure, but I know that who knows, when I get up there, Lord, something you're supposed, not that I screwed up His plan or anything like that, because I think His plans still go forward, but with or without us. But I don't know, it would have been kind of interesting to see if I picked the ministry aspect of life.
What's funny you should say ministry, because I always looked at like the bands you played in Deliverance and Worldview. These are, the lyrics aren't Sunday school cheap. They are, you put a lot of thought into the lyrics you've written here. You were talking about Back in Time. I even looked the lyrics up on that when I heard it, and I was like, this is really cool. That is a ministry. These songs minister to people who listen to them. And I go back to Weapons. I know I keep talking about that, but like I said, that was like, for us Christian metalheads in the 80s, early 90s, that was our Black album. That was the album that people would say, oh, you listen to Christian rock? I'd be like, oh yeah, listen to this. And I would play that. But the lyrics though were super impactful, especially the song Weapons of Our Warfare. That was right around, I was reading Frank Peretti and all of that stuff. And
that's what was Jimmy actually at the time. He read This Present Darkness. Yeah,
This Present, and the song This Present Darkness goes right along with it. So all those, and it really impacted me as a believer. I won't say young, but I was saved real little. I'm a preacher's kid. I got saved when I was a little kid, but it was around that time where I'm really starting to decide why I believe what I believe and really dive deep into that. And along comes lyrics like stuff on Weapons of Our Warfare, and later with Worldview and Recon and bands like Bob Hartman with Petra was always great about his Bible-based lyrics. And
I love Petra. You're hitting a soft spot there.
And I even bought his devotional. Bob Hartman did a Petra devotional. I bought it.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Oh yeah, and it was those kind of bands that it was, and I call them ministry bands. Then there were the other bands that were in Christian music because they felt like it was an easy way to get a record deal, and you could tell who was authentic and who wasn't. And I've never questioned any of the acts you've played with their authenticity. It never crossed my mind. So
well, thank you for that. It's funny. I was talking to Dino Elefante earlier today, and we're talking about a lot of the stuff we're talking about today. We talked for a good hour and catching up, and he said, George, you know, the reason why John and I got involved, you know, John Elefante and I got involved with Pachyderm with this metal stuff because we didn't know much about it. This is Dino talking to me. He goes, we saw the value in the ministry. I go, Dino, that's awesome. I go, can I tell you something? He goes, yeah. I go, I just got a call. I just got an email about a month ago or a little bit less, about a month ago, of a guy that told me that he was on the verge of suicide, and and somebody gave him weapons. And guess what? After he listened to Weapons, and you know, really liked the music, the Lord used it to minister to him, and he's saved and didn't kill himself, obviously. And I mean, that's type of stuff about San Dino gives me chills, and I even getting them now. I mean, it's awesome. I don't think we'll know the impact of, you're right, the ministry aspect of it till we get there. I mean, it's. I mean, how long was that stupid record come out? I don't mean to call it stupid, but 1990.
Yeah.
You know, and like a month ago, I'm getting a report about, like, you know, somebody, you know, decided not to commit suicide and turn to the Lord, and because of a dumb record we put out.
Well, yeah,
you know, and I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying it like, wow, if that's not God and not us, I don't know what it is. Because the second you start thinking that it's you, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
All glory goes to God. Bottom line.
Well, there are, you know, there's music that is inspired. I truly believe there's music that is truly inspired. You know, not to biblical levels, but you know what I mean. Where you know,
oh yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, either the Holy Spirit's in or he's not.
Yeah.
I guess the bottom line.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So the new album, Human Code. Are you label hunting? Have you been?
Be honest with you, yeah. According to Michael, he really sees, and not that I don't, but he really sees big aspirations for this record. I mean, I just want to. Here's my gig: is I just want to, like, produce it, play on it, record it, mix it, put it out there. Let somebody else do the marketing and all that stuff. And Michael's really motivated to do that and get it into people's hands. And at that point, just tell me when and where, and I'll show up and I'll play. You know, but I just want to finish my aspect of it here. You know, people have asked me that in the past, and maybe, you know, like Sammy Hagar does, you just start asking people certain ending questions. But do you like playing live better? Or do you like recording better? And for me, I would easily say I'd like playing recording better, the recording process of just, some people get off on that live thing. But I tell you, the live thing to me, I like playing live, don't get me wrong, but if things don't go perfect and they go like wrong, I think it tends to affect my performance. And unless you're with a band that's rehearsing all the time and perfecting your show for a live performance, you're just kind of hoping for the best. And that seems to be what I've been doing the last, you know, few years with the last few bands, because we're not young anymore. We all have jobs, we have kids, we all have recitals to go to, whatever, soccer games, and the days of like, we got to rehearse 3 times a week, you know, I mean, that's done. You know, and that's why Van Halen was such an incredible band with it, because they were a band. They were a band. They ate, slept, and, you know, and jammed together, you know, 3-4 times a week. And that just is not reality for people that are have families that are older. For young people, yeah, it is. And that's why. And then playing live is just the fruit of just rehearsing that much. But if you just like, oh, we got to put together a show, and then you hurry up, and that's not as fun to me, you know, these days. But I really love the definite aspect of recording and writing.
Yeah, I do video production for a living, so I love the post-production part. I've got a buddy of mine who goes out and shoots. I'll go out and shoot as well. I don't like it as much. Give me the footage. Let me play with the footage. That's what I like. You know, so
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I love the post-production stuff. That's what I really enjoy.
There you go.
So yeah, that's awesome. You were talking about you know, rehearsing and playing out. Well, in the music business, has changed so much over the last few years. It's really hard to make a living as a touring musician, you know, especially with the stupid lockdowns and stuff. It's, you know, just getting out and playing is an ordeal.
Yeah, and it depends on what side of the aisle you're on these days, because I mean, too many of these musicians kind of give away too much of their political views, and they alienate the other half. And this song, to be honest with you, that we're putting out with Human Code, politically, socially incorrect. It's a little bold, but but it leaves room for both sides, because bottom line, if we're talking about, now obviously music is a global thing, it's not necessarily a United States thing, but if we are talking the United States, Democrat, Republican, we're all Americans. And if the Democrats lose their freedom, so do the Republicans. If the Republicans lose the freedoms, so do the Democrats. So, because we're all Americans. So in that sense, we should think about possibly uniting, or possibly getting on some kind of platform in the middle where we don't let, because I really believe that what a lot of things that are going on right now, it's just brainwashing. Again, not just Republicans, not just Democrats. It's brainwashing and conditioning people to get used to the taste of not having freedom, and get used to it, because it's we, the government, know what's best for you.
Yeah.
And for you not to have freedoms for your safety, for your good, I mean, is ultimately a good thing for you. Trust me on that. Yeah, no, I don't think so. William Wallace, in Scotland, the movie Braveheart, that was their premise for fighting back England. Freedom, freedom, freedom. What was the premise of us starting the United States in the first place? Freedom from English tyranny. They wanted to rule us from over there and tell us what to do over here. And we're not going, no, we're not having that. We're starting our own country here.
Right.
Stay over there, and we'll stay over here. And then, obviously, war broke out. And so it's all about, but the premise was freedom, always. We want independence. We want freedom. So how many people have shed their blood? How many soldiers have gone out, and left their wives, left their children to go defend our freedoms, only to just freely give them up? I don't think so. And I will be running for Congress. I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
No.
Well, hey man, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. I don't want to keep you on too much longer, but is there anything else you'd like to share? You'd like to say about anything upcoming, ongoing? Any closing thoughts you have?
Well, I do appreciate your patience, because we've hit and miss this interview for like a year almost. So thank you for that. We're finally here, so we got it done. So there we go. Better late than never. I don't know. I just see myself in my role in the future is I still, till I can't play with these singers anymore. I see myself in the role of maybe mentoring and producing and working with other bands, maybe writing with other people. I live here in Nashville now, so Nashville's kind of like, co-writers mecca of the world.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of more of a vibe here than shall we say LA. LA is more like kind of a selfish atmosphere. Everybody's out for themselves, and everybody's trying to outdo each other. And I think there's more cohesiveness here. Like, people will share writing a song together with somebody else here. They're more willing to do that, and let's write a great song together, as opposed to listen to my song that I wrote, So I see myself more shifting into out of like the artist realm and into the either, like I said, mentor, producer, or co-writer, or whatever that entails. It's all in the Lord's hands. I'm not worried about it. I have complete trust that He'll have me where He wants me to. I mean, there's times I get anxious and I want to do this, I want to do that, but ultimately I can't really worry about it. He's been good to me so far. There's no reason why that should stop. And you know what? The Bible also says that He'll give us grace to deal with the things that come across our path. There's no temptation which overcomes man except that which is common. And with every temptation, the Lord will provide a way of escape. So I firmly believe in that verse, that God will not allow us to be tempted beyond what we're able. Sometimes it feels like it, though. Like, you put me in a certain situation, I'm going to act this way. But you know what? If the Lord put it in front of me, that means I could have overcame, but I didn't. so I blew it. So I've got to learn my lesson again because I didn't quite learn it that last time, you know. So believe me, I've got plenty of those stories. So it's all about iron sharpens iron, you know, and doing those things. And I'll encourage everybody out there. Well, like I said earlier, one of the best things I said in this whole thing, and again, I'm not giving pat myself in the back, but if the Lord isn't in every part of your life, if you just compartmentalize him and give him Sunday and give him maybe Tuesday or whatever, you're not on the right path. He's gotta be part of everything, every decision you make, who you marry. I've seen a lot of people make mistakes there. But for the sake of, what's a verse in Proverbs that says, by a heart that a man is reduced to a crust of bread. I've seen a lot of crust of breads around me. That's a big one for modern guys. I think they let women kind of like ruin them as Christians, shall we say. But find man, but he who finds a holy wife finds a good thing. I mean, I have a great wife. I love my wife. She's a gift from God. And yeah, do we have our issues at times? Of course, we're both sinners, but I thank God for her, and she puts the Lord first. That's for sure. And there's so many people that I know that get with women that don't put the Lord first, and usually have to pay for it somewhere down the line,
Yeah.
you know. But you know, God's good, and just make him part of every part of your life.